Hi guys, today we're going to be talking about how to calculate net pay. We've been talking about gross pay in the last few classes, but today we're going to talk about how to get to net pay. So in this example, we're only going to address mandatory deductions, or deductions the federal government requires employees to deduct from employees' pay. And the three deductions that we're going to talk about today are federal withholding, Social Security tax, it's also referred to as FICA tax or FICA, and Medicare tax. State withholding is similar to federal withholding, and you'll see that on your paycheck, but it's payable to the state tax department instead of the federal tax department, and we're not going to address that today. Other deductions are voluntary deductions, like health insurance or a 401k plan, and we're not going to be talking about those today either, only the federal mandatory deductions. So the first one we're going to talk about is federal withholding tax. And we are going to be using the IRS Publication 15T Federal Income Tax Withholding Method. And you see on the screen there is a link to the publication, and I've also put a link to the publication in your lesson. And you also see a picture of the front of the guide on your PowerPoint here. Now, the withholding table is arranged in order of frequency of pay and filing status. And you see here on, you can see that it is weekly payroll period. So make sure when you are doing your payroll, you are using the correct payroll period. And also it's arranged in order of filing status. So make sure that you're using the correct filing status, single, married, because you'll have the wrong tax rate if you don't. And also the number of allowances that a person chooses. The table shows from 0 to 10, so make sure you are using the correct number of allowances in your pay also. Now, in our scenario, let's use the tax table and talk about this scenario. Let's take Joe. Joe is married. He's claiming 2 allowances. His gross pay for the week is $825. Okay, now we know that he has a weekly pay, so we're going to go to the page in the table that is weekly pay for married persons, and then look up his gross pay on the left side of the table, and then go to the column that is for 2 allowances. For example, you're going to see here that you're going to go to a weekly pay period for married persons. Look at the left side of the column for his paycheck, and then you'll go over to the column that is 2 allowances, and you will see that his federal withholding is $44. Next, we have Social Security tax. Social Security taxes are used by the federal government to pay Social Security benefits. Social Security is a system designed to help support retired individuals, widows and widowers, and people who are disabled. Social Security tax, or FICA tax, is 6.2% of gross pay. In our example, if Joe earned $825, his FICA tax is calculated as follows. You would multiply his gross pay times the tax rate, and he would owe $51.15 in FICA tax. Medicare tax pays for Medicare Part A health insurance coverage for persons 65 and older. Medicare Part A represents the hospital portion of Medicare coverage. you may hear people refer to it as hospitalization. Now, it's not the part that pays for the doctor. That's paid by the individual. But this is Part A health insurance coverage. So, Medicare tax is calculated at 1.45% of gross pay. So, Joe's Medicare tax is calculated as follows. His gross pay of $825 times the Medicare tax rate of 1.45%. And you see that I converted it to a decimal before I multiplied it. And his Medicare tax is $11.96. Now notice that Social Security and Medicare tax are flat rate taxes. It does not matter if it's a weekly pay period or semi-monthly. It just goes directly off of gross pay. So that brings us to Joe's net pay, because we have done all three federal mandatory withholdings or federal taxes. So let's see what Joe's net pay is calculated. His gross pay was $825. His federal withholding is $44 from the table. Social Security is 6.2%, and it calculated to $51.15. And Medicare tax is 1.45%, or $11.96. So, if you subtract federal withholding, Social Security, and Medicare from his gross pay, Joe's net pay will be $717.89.